People have been arguing for centuries that 0.9 recurring can't equal 1. This might be because we can produce a pretty good argument against any proof that 0.9 recurring equals 1. And we will examine one of those arguments now. The unsuspecting layperson can feel bamboozled by the many complicated sounding proofs, of which there are many, and all of which supposedly provide undeniable proof that 0.9 recurring equals 1, such as proofs based on Dedekind cuts and the equivalence of Cauchy sequences, not to mention the proof using the nested intervals theorem. The proofs keep coming like paper churning out of a photocopier. Now, if we've already rejected the concept of real numbers, then we're not going to accept these extra proofs which are based on methods for supposedly constructing real numbers. And it turns out that the Dedekind cut approach is effectively the same argument as the formal proof we saw earlier, except that where we used x, we now use a rational a over b. And the Cauchy sequences approach is to define two sequences to be equal if their difference tends towards 0. In this approach, series of endless non-zero terms are simply defined to be equal to a constant. And so there are no significant new arguments here at all. They are just repackaging copies of arguments that we've already covered. Similarly, the nested intervals theorem argument is just a restating of the cat and mouse argument that we discussed earlier. It starts with the invalid assumption that 0.9 recurring is a constant. Then it is claimed that this constant will be between any or all the nth sums and 1, except that the distance from each nth sum to 1 is expressed as a range of values called an interval. Some strange concepts here make this sound like a completely different argument. The theorem states that an arbitrarily small interval will contain exactly one real number. But what does arbitrarily small even mean? To a disbeliever it sounds absurd. And the idea that somewhere at the tail end of an infinite sequence there will be an interval containing one real number sounds like a very slippery way of saying that an infinite sequence will have a last interval without actually calling it that. And since the reality is that this is just a rewording of the cat and mouse argument discussed earlier, there is an equal and opposite argument that indicates 0.9 recurring cannot be a constant. Also, if there is no last interval, then clearly no range can exist containing just 0.9 recurring and 1. Finally, thank you for taking the time to watch, and I hope you enjoy my other videos.